Hello everyone, I'm Stephen West, this is Philosophize This. And of course we didn't just start one day, he would say. There's always been mediocre people. This is nothing new. And before we go any further, I don't want anyone to misunderstand Ortega here. He's not talking about mediocre people or the masses from a sociological point of view or socioeconomic. He's talking about the mass man as a type of psychology that traps people from all walks of life. You can be a billionaire and still be thinking with this mass mentality. Every generation has had their version of mediocre people. And every generation has had the thinkers of their time that have had uncharitable views towards mediocre people and their views on the nuances of the world. But Ortega would say something changed towards the end of the 19th century. We changed the way that we structure our societies. And in doing so, we gave mediocre people a level of respect towards the legitimacy of their opinions that we've never really seen before throughout history. Like, if you're a mediocre person, you are living through a golden age. There may be no greater time for you to have ever lived than right now. Think about it. In today's world, you can be sitting around a table with a bunch of educated people having a discussion about some serious issue that's facing the world. And you can add up the amount of time you've spent really thinking about this issue and have never thought about it for more than 5 minutes. And it's amazing. You can open your mouth at that table, and those people have to take your opinion into consideration as though you are an equal. Social media in today's world. Let's say you got thoughts about how the world works, and you've never really spent that much time at all even trying to remotely understand it. Not a problem. Now you got a platform to say whatever you want, and other mediocre people will probably like your posts. You could self-publish a book in today's world. Other mediocre people will buy it. Ortega would want us to consider how different the world is for the ordinary person from the way it's typically existed throughout history. He'd also want us to consider how this relates to his perspectivism from last episode, with Grandma Beatrice believing we're all fluffy seeds floating in the breeze next to a sycamore tree. And at a certain point, for the sake of our own sanity and the progress of the species, we gotta say, no, we're not all fluffy seeds. Not everyone's perspective is equally developed, and we should commend the people who have done the work to challenge the limitations of their perspectives and expose themselves to more experiences. The fact of the matter is, we are not all equal, Ortega would say. There are people who have just put in more work than other people when it comes to developing their understanding in certain areas of life. And if we truly value equality, then Ortega would say certainly. We should always make sure that people are treated equally under the law. But we are not the same. And whenever we try too hard to convince everyone that we are all the same across the board, society is going to suffer as a result. He would say this level of consideration for the ordinary person comes as a result of 19th century classical liberalism and a heightened focus that then comes on equality. And don't get him wrong, this is a great time to be alive to Ortega. Equality is good. Democracy is good. It's all good. But what society has turned into is something entirely different. Every silver lining has a cloud. This isn't democracy anymore, he would say. When equality is fetishized rather than prioritized, what we have now is what he calls hyper-democracy. And this has had very real effects on the way society is structured.